Hello, good morning and welcome to Magic in Mind. I am your host, Maggie Rose Cunningham. We're starting a little bit late. Apologies for those of you who have been waiting for the session to start. I have reorganised my office, which is lovely, and I'm very much enjoying it, but that means I don't know where anything is, so it's a little bit longer than planned to get us going. But we are here now, and we're going to be exploring seership. We're on our second week exploring seership. We are getting ready for the we're getting ready for the half moon point. So we're in the waxing moon phase. The moon is getting bigger, you can imagine. Mani, the charioteer of the moon, he's charging with his chariot across the sky, and Bill and Hiyuki are with him, and they are filling the moon. They're filling the sphere of the moon with the lovely, delicious waters of weird, creating fate, offering potency to our month. So it's this time of receiving the magic of the moon. Hello Suki, lovely to see you. If you are here live, please do pop a hello in the chat box. If you're watching the replay, put a hashtag replay to let me know that you are here. Now, for those of you who are on the newsletter, you will see that I've sent out your month ahead email for what's coming up through this month of seership. And one of the things that I have, which I'm very excited, well, actually, I want to tell you about two things. Two of the masterclasses that I'm running. So I'm running seership with the runes. This is a 3-hour masterclass, really diving into your seership with the runes. It is a beginner's level class, so you do not have to have any experience of working with the runes. It is also something that people have they've come to this masterclass in a slightly different form, a shorter form. This is the longest I've ever done before, so that we can really take a deep dive into the energies of the runes and really start to look as well at the runes that enhance your seership, that you can work with, and how they can enhance your seership. So people have come and done this same workshop with me multiple times, even when it was a shorter version. So even if you've been before, you're an experienced healer, even people on my mastery program often come along to these workshops because they're very experiential, they're very, very practical. So your lovely practical seership with the runes masterclass coming up on the 31st of October. If you purchase your ticket and you know you can't come on the day, so it's running 10 o'clock until 1 o'clock UK time, that's morning into the afternoon, you can get the recording. Right? So you can still get the recording and you can still participate that way. Obviously you won't be able to say this is my rune or get a reading in the moment, but you can still have a lovely, delicious, juicy experience. Now the second thing that I'm doing is an absolutely brand new offer, and it is you might think about it as a collective power retrieval process for the seer. Wherever you are in terms of your seership, the seer is a part of the self. I believe that we have, to a certain extent, sort of repressed. We are not that great at saying, yes, this is what my intuition says, this is what my inner knowing says. We're very sort of externally focused. And so doing some work to retrieve the power of the seer felt really important to me. So the Reclaim Your Seer, it's a masterclass, but it's an experiential ceremonial working that we will be doing. There will be story to open you to the power of your seer. We're going to be doing some wild voice facilitation. Some of you have done that with me before, where we tap in to a part of the voice that does come from the seer in order to explore our seer selves. I'm going to be sharing with you some of the work that I have been doing around the seer self, so that you can start to feel into that. I'm also going to be talking about other opportunities for working at a deeper level with your seer and the other magical parts of the self. And then we will be doing a ceremony together to really draw in the power of the seer. We're going to be doing some shamanic work, we're going to be doing some embodiment work, so I'm very, very excited about that. And that is on the 7th of November. And because all of you who have shown up live for the session are here, and I really appreciate you, what I'm going to do is I'm going to drop into the chat box the link for booking and a voucher code, which is only for the first 10 people. So I'm giving it to you who are here live in the half space first, because I really appreciate you showing up Monday after Monday after Monday, so that you can get your ticket for half price. So let me just pop that into the box there. So that's the booking code, and then I'm going to put in the coupon code for you. There you go. So if you are here live, know that there are 10 half price tickets available where you can use that coupon and you can come along to the Reclaim Your Magic session. Now, it is possible to participate in the session via the recording, and I will send out a recording for you because I know that a lot of you are based in the US or Australia, and the time, so it's 10 o'clock until, is it 2:15? I'm not sure, I need to check, but it's on there. It's on the thing. It's on the thing anyway, on the booking thing, how long it is. You can do this via the recording. What I'm not doing is I'm not making the recording available to people to purchase after the session. So you're either, yes, I'm in the container, so that I know everybody that's there and I can hold that container space for you because it's a deeply transformative experience. You know? So I'm not going to be saying, yes, you can purchase the recording afterwards. You are either, yes, I'm in, hopefully you can come because it'll be great. But even if you can't come and you know, yes, I want to be in this energy and I want to really be held in reclaiming this part of my seer self, then absolutely, but you need to purchase prior to the date. So that is there, available for all of you. Let me let you know how this session is going to go then. How we're going to be operating today for Magic and Mind in the waxing moon phase. So we're going to be exploring the seer, and the seer as the possibility of the ability to dare. You know, so we looked at the ability of the knowing of the seer last week. We're looking at the need to dare to act on the knowledge of the seer through the course of this session. So we'll be looking at that. We will then be looking at the planetary movements, the movements of the planets through the wheel of the year. We're looking at 2 planetary movements. We're going to be digging into those so that you can feel into the energy that's available outside and how you can harness that energy, how you can work with it to support your own intentions, your own desires. What is the universe inviting you into this week? We're going to be exploring that. And then we are going to look at 6 power runes. So for those of you who are live, you can share your rune that you're working with either this lunar month or this week or this day in the stay and play section. So I will let you know when that's coming up so that we can so that you can share your runes. I know that some of you have shared your runes already. I will try and go through and take a record of those. We will do that as they come through. But if you want to hold on with your runes until we get to the stay and play section, that's very helpful for me because I get a lot of comments in the chat and I want to make sure that I get them. So yeah, how does that sound to everybody? It looks as if people are arriving beautifully. Lovely to see you all. Love to see you, Sue. Love to see you, Maggie. Oh, Maggie, I'm sorry. Yeah, feeling that for you, and yeah, love with you. Thurisaz, challenging rune. It is a rune that it brings such strength, such passion, but it also opens us to the woundings of love. The more powerfully we love, the more powerfully the grief comes through as well. Thurisaz says if you're going to feel, you're going to feel deeply on all levels. So we are with you and holding you in that. We have Chen, lovely to see you, and Lisa and Erica, Michelle and Suki. I think I've said hello already. So, do give me a little wave as you drop in. That's absolutely lovely to hear from you. So, what we're going to look at is we're going to be looking at the quality of daring. And you'll remember I talked about this as being the 4 powers of the Sphinx. Interestingly, my son's doing a project on Egypt at the moment and he chose to make a Sphinx, like a picture of a Sphinx. So then I got to tell him all about the 4 powers. It was fun. He did that last week. So I was like, oh yeah, it's coming through. So we have to know, to will, to know, to dare, to will, and to keep silent being the 4 powers. And it's not; those are not Northern European traditional concepts, but they fit very, very beautifully with the seer. And obviously that personal magic can be explored and felt through whatever tradition you work with. And some of you, and many of you I know, work through multiple magical traditions, and each of them is nuanced and specific. But you, as a human being, you will have your own seer who has access in a particular way to these qualities of knowing, of daring, of willing, and of keeping silence. We're going to be looking at that power to dare, so that you can express what you know, so you can express those intuitions, so you can express that inner mind. Good morning, Ella, lovely to see you. And so that you can act in accordance with what you know, which doesn't always mean expressing. It doesn't always mean I need to share this knowledge with with the voice or with writing, very much the realm of the sage self. It can do, but it's also about acting with, embodying, creating in accordance with, being really in resonance with that deep knowing. So I'm going to share a little story with you at this point. Now, this was a point where I was quite disconnected from all of my magical self because I was in deep overwhelm. I knew that. I knew I wasn't in a good place. I was struggling physically. I was struggling. I could feel that I was pretty much either on the verge of, or I just hit burnout. And I had a day where one of my teams, I happened to manage within my portfolio the sports facility of the university that I was working with at the time. And for those of you who know me, I'm dyspraxic and I find sport quite difficult. That was deeply funny in many ways, but actually a really powerful partnership to work with the director of the sports hall, and we made lovely magic together, and it was wonderful and brilliant. But it wasn't what I expected in life, just say. But he had an event that he invited me to go to, which was lovely. And it meant that for the first time in weeks, I had a working day where I couldn't be doing my to-do list. I couldn't be thinking about what my teams needed. I couldn't be rushing to the train because I knew I was going to be late and I needed to get home because I wanted to see my children before they went to bed. All of that. I couldn't do that because I was in Buckingham Palace and I was listening to a speech by Princess Anne. Yeah. And Princess Anne said some cool stuff. And I have to say, I was like, oh, she knows her stuff. She's a funny woman. She was a wise woman. She said some great things during that time. But I had this moment to breathe. This moment of to breathe. And I'd been on the train beforehand, and I couldn't use my phone and things like that. So I was really feeling into what's happening. And as I was sitting there, listening to Princess Anne, I just said to the universe, I was just like, just give me a sign. Please just give me a sign as to what I'm meant to do. Because at that point, I'd worked really hard to get to that place in my career. I was acting at a sort of a directorship level with multiple teams. I was enjoying the work. I loved the people, and yet I was breaking every single day. And I said, is there something wrong with me? Is it just that I can't do this? What's happening? And I was also aware that this was not the first time that this has happened to me. This was the second time that this has happened to me. So I'd worked in a university before, and I'd reached a senior level before. Very, very different in terms of what was happening. So in the previous job, it wasn't the busyness that was getting me. It was lots of other things. But I was like, oh God, am I going to quit for the second time because I can't hack it? Is what I felt at that moment. I said, send me a sign, give me a sign. When I left my first job, there was a moment when I left my first job. There was a moment when I knew what I needed to do, because I'd been thinking about this for a long time, and I'd waited for that role for a really long time. For about 2 years, I'd waited for the role that I was in, and then I was just like, whoa, this is not what I had expected at all, and I just didn't feel good about myself at all. And I was asking this question. We had a new director of services come in. He was like a sort of Uber director. He was a really, really senior level person. And it was his first week. And he came to speak to the team the senior team that I was a member of. And I don't remember a huge amount of what he said. He said lots of great stuff, I'm not saying. It was just that, he was new. And his name was Ian Cray. And I remember listening to his voice and thinking, what's it going to be like to work with him? And, I didn't have any sort of plans to... I wasn't thinking about leaving at that point. I just knew that something needed to shift, that something needed to change. And then he just said through the course of the session, he just said, if you are not part of the solution, you are part of the problem. And I was like, oh, I'm part of the problem. I am part of the problem. I am unhappy in this job. I am not contributing as I want to. I am frustrated. I am fenced in at every turn. I am not having the impact that I wanted to, that I've had for the previous 7 years in this role. Now I don't have. I have become part of the problem. That is not okay with me. I am not okay with it. I am going to resign. Just knew it in that moment. I was like, in that moment, I had that moment of total clarity that that's what needed to happen. And so I wrote my proposal for how they could make me redundant and how they could reconfigure the team and what that would mean for them. And I submitted it and it was accepted and I left. And it was brilliant. It was brilliant. It was the exact right thing to do. But if I hadn't had that, just that phrase that sort of landed. And this is the thing with the seer. This is what I believe for the seer. I believe that each of us deep down inside has a deep, deep connection to what is right for us. What is right for us in terms of our joy, our destiny, you know, the all. And that when the external world offers something that resonates with that, I'm pressing my tummy, you can't see it, but I always feel if that the seer is quite low down in the body. Often in the Western world we talk about it being up here. For me that's the mystic self a little bit more. We don't need to go into the ins and outs of it, but I feel the seer lower down is this like deep resonant body knowing. But when that is offered either by a seer that I've gone to in order to have a reading, or by, you know, another magical practitioner, or somebody who's just really, really good at their job, or by a total stranger who happens to say exactly the right thing that I needed to hear in that moment and possibly didn't mean that a member of the senior team was going to resign. But, you know, it's that deep knowing, that bell went off. So anyway, I'm going to fast forward through that to, it was probably 9 years in the future. You know, so I'd gone away, I founded my own business, I did my shamanic business, I did all of the stuff and all of the things, and I was like, no, there's something calling me, I have to go back into education. And I felt that need to be part of education still. Fast forward to me sitting there, listening to Princess Anne saying, give me a sign, give me a sign, give me a sign. You know, shall I leave my job? All of those things were coming up, you know. And, you know, obviously Princess Anne didn't say, Maggie, leave your job. You know, that didn't happen. Would have been cool if it did, didn't it? But that didn't happen. What actually happened was something that was, I think, more in accordance with the seer. I stood up from my chair, went to the door, and there was lots of different delegates there, and I didn't know any of them because I had no connections to the sports world and universities at all. So I was meeting brand new people the whole time. And I went past the door and there was a woman standing at the door, and she just, as I was going past, her eyes flicked down to my name badge. And she said, oh, you're Maggie Cunningham, aren't you? I looked at the biographies as we were going in, and I saw that you were at King's, which is the previous institution that I'd worked at. And she's like, do you happen to know Ian Cray? And I was like, well, I met him once. Happened to be when he gave that speech. If you're not part of the solution, you're part of the problem. And I chatted with her for a while, but my whole head was just going, okay, 9 years, I've never met this man since, I've never heard his name, no one has ever spoken to me before. And at the moment where I said to the universe, I was like, help me, give me a sign. I meet a total and utter stranger who makes this very, very, you know, long link. She happened to read my biography, she happened to notice it was King's College London, she happened to think, oh, Ian Cray in that moment, and to ask me, do you know Ian Cray? So that I heard his name, literally, you know, the first thing that anyone said to me as I went out of that space. And in that moment I was like, yeah, I'm leaving my job. I'm just leaving my job. And the point here is that sometimes we can get we're so overwhelmed by the world. We're so at the point where we're disconnected to our seer self because, you know, stuff has happened and there's like emotions and worry and stress and anxiety and stuff like that. Sometimes the universe has to send out a signal which is so loud that you would have to be totally dense not to hear it. You know, I needed it to be like the fire alarm going, you know, Ian Gray, Ian Gray, Ian Gray. You know, I needed that in that moment. But I still had to say yes. You know, I still had to dare to do that. And that was not an easy thing to do. You know, I was the primary breadwinner for my family. I didn't have another plan. You know, I knew that I didn't want to do exactly the same thing, but I didn't have another plan. And I would be standing here today if I hadn't taken that decision. You know, everything unfolded from that point. I ended up standing here where I did today. So it was a strong enough signal for me that I took it. I took the message and I said, okay, that is what I needed. That's the sign that I needed from the universe in that moment. You know, there was a resonance that sounded inside me that responded to the outside world. So when we are in that moment of disconnect, the universe might send something like quite strong and big. So like, let me know in the chat box if you have had a moment where the universe has just like sounded a fire alarm and just gone, hello, you need to activate your seer at this point because you're in trouble and you're not doing anything about it. It was that sort of thing. Now, when we aren't in that place of overwhelm and disconnect, the messages of the universe get more subtle. And I think the reason for that is because it is not the plan of the universe to take our power away from us and determine the course of our lives for us. It is not the desire or the job, I don't believe, of any seer that we go and visit to take our power away from us and to tell us what we should do in our lives. When you go to meet a seer, when you go for a reading, you are looking for someone to speak the truth that you already know deep down inside your body. One of the things that I find quite difficult is one of the reasons that I don't do standalone readings, or I do them very, very rarely, is because sometimes I don't believe that it is right to give a reading. We're going to talk about this more in the week on To Keep Silent, because it's not what the person needs. So there are some red flags that I have sort of identified for myself as a seer that I think might be helpful for you if you are a seer, whether you're doing it professionally or you offer your seership to friends or family, is when the question is asked, will I? Rather than how can I? When someone says, will I get a new job? Will I find my new partner? Will I get married next year? Will I get a new house? All of those things are trying to give the power of that decision to you. And as a seer, that's not the point of your job. The point of your job is to help that person to find the truth that is inside them by becoming a channel for the wisdom of the universe, and saying, this is what I see. These are the possibilities that I see. And for those of you who have ever had readings, for me, there is an exploration. There's the seer will offer beautiful images, possibilities. This is what I see on the path. And there are moments where my soul will go, yes, yes, and yes, and yes. I know that. And there are times when it's, I like that, but actually from you having said it, I know that that's not right. Just as valuable. The point isn't always to say this is what's going to happen to you. The point is to offer the opportunity for you to move into decision. That's, in my view, the job of a seer, is to help you to move into a place of decision, to find clarity. And sometimes that is through offering things that you that aren't the correct thing in the moment. And I think it's a real challenge for a lot of seers that I work with, who it's like, I feel as if the responsibility has been given to me by the other person. What if I get it wrong? And it's like, well, that only works on the basis of I'm in charge, rather than my client is in charge. So that's the first one, is the will I, rather than the how can I, or I'm feeling into the possibilities around. There's lots of different ways to do it, but if someone's just a very straightforward will I, they want a yes no answer. That, in my view, isn't an exploration into seership. So the second piece for me is when someone says, I've already had a reading on this, I've already received some information about that, but I'm looking for something else. And what that tells me is that the person who is looking for the reading is disconnected from their truth to the point that when the right decision has been offered to them, they haven't been able to respond to it. They haven't been able to move into the space of daring. They haven't been able to seize that opportunity. It's like the resonator on the inside isn't working properly. So if you have somebody who's like that, who is saying, I've tried this person and I've tried this person and I've tried this person, but I can't, I haven't received the clarity that I need, I haven't received the answers that I need, then at that point they don't need a seer. They may well need a healer, somebody to help them to clear away whatever the blocks are to them being able to connect with their truth, in that moment. The universe is offering us those messages, those possibilities all of the time. And when we're really deeply connected and deeply rooted, we might just need like an oracle card, or to find a rune in the tree that's the right one calling to us, and we go, yeah, that's it, that's the moment. So when someone has had multiple readings, why is it that them coming to you is going to make them more able to connect to the truth of the reading? They may well need a healing first. So Suki, you're saying messages were coming in, like change jobs, health is affected. No, I'm staying. There's a loyalty happens several times, and then wham, made redundant. Yeah, absolutely. And this is an interesting piece, isn't it, Suki? Around there's still a learning there. There's still a learning around. Okay, so my seer was talking to me, but there were other factors at play here that that you can feel into around that sense of loyalty, that mean that the next time round that the universe offers you, that you can say, okay, so it may well be that I will get what I'm calling my Hagalaz moment, when the universe makes the change happen that I already knew was coming. I could feel it coming, but for other reasons I chose to stay. And when we do that from a place of choosing, that's different to being what's the word I'm looking for, a sort of victim, giving your power away to the universe in that moment. I mean, loyalty is a beautiful value. It's a beautiful quality, and when we are in our seership, we get to decide, is the path of loyalty still the right one for me? And you might well go to a seer and say, is the path of loyalty still the right one for me? Because I can feel that is causing me to weave my future in a certain way, and I can also feel that there are other things that are wrong. So you can then explore and feel into that. But yeah, sometimes the universe then goes, well, we gave the warnings. Sue says, I agree. I always say to anyone I have done a reading for that I will probably only be reiterating messages they've already received or not taken notice of. Yeah, absolutely. And that's, finding support, getting support for yourself from somebody who can take that role for you. It's an incredibly powerful decision to take. And I really love that. It's a beautiful phrasing there, Sue. Thank you very much. So thank you for those shares. Whatever else lands for you, let me know in the chat. Let me know how that lands for you in terms of having readings yourself, or having moments where the universe intervenes, or having moments where you're actually, I can feel that I'm more in flow at this point, so I'm open to receiving that for myself. And also, if you're a seer, those nuances around what you're offering in the moment. So we're going to fill into the planetary movements, and then we're going to look at the stay and play section. I need to get, the only reason I'm looking around is because I can never find a pen ever. I don't know what that means. If anyone would like to explain to me why it is that in my life I can never find a pen, let me know in the chat box. One moment. I actually managed to find a pen. I was so excited. I think it was on Saturday. I found a pen immediately. I was like, yes, I found a pen immediately, picked it up and clicked it to make it work, and the pen broke in half. It was this pen. I'm going to put this pen down. I've picked up the same pen. I've just realised. I'm going to find another pen. And when I clicked the bottom, the whole top section of the pen flew into the air across the room and hit the wall on the other side. Ridiculous. Let's get a different one. Let's get a pen that isn't also a lethal weapon, shall we? There we go. So that I can write down your runes. So we have 2 planetary movements for this week. So you could think about this as being, Suki says, sorry, the code is not working. Suki, let me look into that. Okay. If you were on the live and you have not been able to use the code, email talk@maginrose.com with the code. Just send that code and we will make sure that we get you sorted, okay? So just email talk@maginrose.com, say, this is the code I had, didn't work, and if you were those first 10, we'll count you in those first 10, okay? So it doesn't matter as long as you get the email in. So either use the code if it works for you. If it doesn't work for you, send the code to talk@maginrose.com, and we will make sure that we get that to you and we get that sorted. Okay, thank you, Suki, for letting me know. It's always the way, isn't it, technology? You think, oh, this is a great plan. It doesn't always work the way you planned it to. So where were we? Planetary movements. Okay, so planetary movements, and then we'll look at your runes for the week, and we'll look at the 6 spirit runes that we're going to be working with. So we have got Odin's chariots. This is the equivalent of Mercury. Odin's chariots moving out of Gibo into Vunyo. And what he offers us through this week is this. Vunyo is the rune of ecstasy. It's the rune of ecstasy. It's the rune of desire. And he asks the question of us. He says, what if by stepping into your power more fully, by being in your place of ecstasy, by being in your place of joy, you gave permission to others to do this as well? It's this sense of which, if sometimes following the path of the seer, of making those decisions that work really well for you, if they work really well for you and you take those decisions, sometimes it's not about then going and telling people and saying, well, if you step into the power of the seer and you can do this and you can do that. Actually just embodying that is an act of change making by daring to listen to your seer and take action from that place, or by daring to listen to your seer and go, okay, I'm listening and I'm feeling quite a lot of resistance to taking the action that my seer is recommending. Where can I go and get support for that? Where can I go and get support for that? Where can I go and get help for that? Is part of the act of daring. It's like taking that first step forward. I really like, there's a phrase, it's like a belief that is offered by the organisation that I'm a coach with, one of many. And they say, what if your desire and the will of the universe was the same? Now, what if your desire and the will of the universe was the same? I just love that as a belief. It doesn't mean that it's true, but what's possible for us when we believe that? Now, I don't know, Suki, the circumstances of the scenario that you gave us, but I'm going to sort of feel into that for a moment. That sometimes we can feel a real sense of loyalty, of commitment, that we don't want to let people down, and that feels very, very strong. And yet that value of loyalty comes from a place that is connected to challenge, difficulties, past trauma, not to possibility and what's new. Wouldn't it be wonderful to be able to trust the people that we work with to say, I am so happy for you, I'm so pleased for you. When I gave in my notice after Ian Cray spoke to me through the medium of a total stranger and Princess Anne, and gave me that little sentence that I needed in that moment 9 years later, I handed in my notice, and I had so many messages from people saying, I am so glad that you've done this. This is exactly the right thing for you. I've been thinking it for a long time. There was part of me that went, I really wish you'd said that before. And I think that they didn't, because they thought, we don't want Maggie to think that we think that she's not coping, But the point is that people were pleased for me. They were pleased for me. But my sense of loyalty and of not letting people down was so strong that was really what was holding me back. There was also a security piece around what am I going to do next. But a lot of it was loyalty. And to be able to feel into that and say, okay, what's underneath that loyalty? What is driving that sense of loyalty? Is it love and an absolute excitement for what's possible for the people in your tribe? Or is it a fear that your tribe will feel let down by you, that they will reject you in some way, that you will have not fulfilled their expectations? So I'm not saying that that's for you, Suki, but it's one of the things that we can feel into, and that's where the daring part comes in. It's that, what are the barriers to me acting on what my seer has told me in the moment? And Odin invites us into that. Now, the second planetary movement that we have is Frigg's chariot. Now, Frigg's chariot is moving into Rado. So she's been an Ansu, so that place of expression. So I was recommending lots of journaling, lots of feeling into your truth at that time and expressing that truth. Sometimes we do need to express those truths in a safe space first. To do some journaling, or find a very safe group of friends, or a coach, or a seer, or somebody who is only invested in you, in order to simply speak our truth and to feel how it resonates out into the universe. And then Frigg is saying, like, from that point, she then asks, you know, what action can I take towards what I know is the life that I want for myself and my tribe? What small actions can I take? So it's that following the road. She sort of says, she says, sometimes we can't be sure of what we know. We can't be sure that this is the right path until we've started walking it. And that can be really scary for some of us, because we feel like, you know, I've taken the decision and I've cut all ties and there's no way back. And that's not all. It's very rare that there's no way back, or there's no way into some other form of security or tribe, or, you know, professional expression of your work or whatever it is. But we feel like we're, you know, it's we want to know, we want to have certainty. Now, this is where the seer is so important for us, in that ability to take decisions even in the face of uncertainty, and to step forward and to say, actually, the only way that I'm going to discover the truth of this action is by starting to walk the path. So one of the little case study that I've got for you here is just a scenario. We've got a lady, she's called Joyce, and Joyce has Auntie Flo. And Auntie Flo has a quince tree in her garden, and she's had this quince tree for years and years and years. It was gorgeous and beautiful. And Auntie Flo will tell everyone, oh, my quinces, you know, they're coming, and there's a whole like ritual that goes round with it. And then she's, you know, making it all. And she loves it. You know, just look at the shade that it provides. And this is my bedroom, and the quince tree is there, and provides this beautiful dappled green shade. And I look at it in the mornings, and it's like a member of her family almost. Now, Auntie Flo, she lives on her own, and the quince tree is the closest she has to a partner. You know. And Joyce has been looking at the quince tree, and she can see that it has it's diseased. And it's not just diseased at the leaves, it's diseased right down there at the trunk and the roots. And she's just like, oh no, what do I do? What do I say? Do I tell Auntie Flo? Do I tell her that the tree is dying? Or do I leave it and not tell her? You know, what do I need to do next? What's the next action? And the thing is with this one is that Frigg was saying, she's basically saying, Joyce is not going to know whether this is the right action or not until she sits down with Auntie Flo, having a cup of tea, and says, Auntie Flo, I know you love that quince tree, but I've noticed that it's diseased, and I don't think that it's possible to save it, you know. And see what Auntie Flo says. And Auntie Flo might say, no, you know, I know my quince tree is doing absolutely fine, and it will be fine, and, you know, all of that. She might do that. She might sort of be like, oh, I can't, you know, you've taken away this thing from me. She might identify the loss of the quince tree with Joyce forevermore. You know, Joyce will be tainted for all time by this. Or Auntie Flo might say, oh, Joyce, you know, I do actually know that, but I was pretending that it wasn't happening and not doing anything about it. And do you think that maybe we should call in a tree surgeon just to see whether there's a possibility of saving the tree? Now, any of those things are possible. And the point is that when Joyce feels into, do I tell Auntie Flo or not? She's not asking, should I tell Auntie Flo or not? She's saying, who am I? Am I the person who tells Auntie Flo, or am I the person who doesn't? Am I a person who stands back? Because the tree is going to die regardless, you know. And if nothing is said, it's definitely going to die. I mean, in Joyce's view, it's not possible to save it anyway. You know, Auntie Flo, she might go and try and get the surgeon and do all of the things, but Joyce doesn't believe it's possible. So from her perspective, it's going to happen anyway. So there's no need for her to say anything. But what Joyce is feeling into is, what type of person am I? No? What type of person am I? And that's what she's discovering, and the only way she will discover that is by taking that road. And perhaps this moment with Auntie Flo, where she goes and she tells Auntie Flo, and really it's about, you know, how is she going to say it? No, that's how she discovers who she is. That's how she discovers, how do I break that news? How do I be supportive for Auntie Flo in this moment? How do I do that? And, you know, I think personally she would always regret it if she didn't say anything, and she sort of left Auntie Flo to discover that for herself, rather than having someone supportive to do it by her side. But that's what she's feeling into. She's not feeling into, you know, do I tell her about the quince tree or not? She's feeling into, who am I? What sort of person am I in that moment? Maggie says, this story resonates with me so much. Lily had to be put to sleep. It was such a difficult decision. Yeah, absolutely. And I do believe that there are times when, as seers, we can feel into, and we'll talk about this more with the to keep silent, to know. And there are times when we know a truth, and we know that the other person knows the truth, and we choose not to say anything because for whatever reason the external circumstances are so difficult, or there is an acceptance piece that needs to come. But I believe that even then, this is why Frigg is talking about Rado and not Ansu's, that there are still actions that we can take, like journaling in the moment and expressing, I can feel that this is coming, or preparing the way in some way or another, or spending more time with our loved ones because we know that we're going into a place of grief. There are preparatory steps that we can be taking that acknowledge what we know, the truth that we already know, without having to have the conversation yet. There's still actions that we can take, and that's what Frigg is inviting us into. She's saying it's that, what actions that we take. Michelle is saying, yes, I've had similar experiences with my voice, Seer, in various situations, and I'm in currently, but my opportunities are limited and not feeling the best fit, but it's taken the perspective that every change I make will hopefully bring me closer. Exactly. And I think that's the Rado energy very strongly, is saying what takes me closer. I might not be there yet, but what brings me one step closer, and my inner voice will let me know if the writing is on the wall. Yes, indeed, that learning of trust is so important as well. Okay, so let's do some runes. I'm going to look through, see what you've got and whether we've had them already. So who is this at the top? It's not letting me see. I think it's Suki, but for some reason it's not letting me show you, Suki. So apologies if I'm wrong, but it says that you've got Fayu. We did Fayu last week, so we're not going to be doing Fayu, and Fayu is not chatting with me. So go and have a little look at last week's if you didn't before. It's not feeling that need to speak at this moment. So we honour your Fayu there. Meggie, you have got Thurisaz, and again we did Thurisaz last week. There is that sort of power to keep silent, and we talked a little bit, didn't we, about emotion, and about recognising that the stronger the negative emotion, the stronger the positive emotion that is what, the stronger the grief, the stronger the love is what comes through. So I think that's probably what Thurisaz wanted to offer you for the moment. And Chen, you've got Perthrow again, and we did Perthrow last week too, so we are not going to take a dive into Perthrow. Yeah, I feel as if the only thing I can see for you there actually, Chen, just for Perthrow, is obviously Perthrow, when it's on its side, it can look like a cauldron. I should get my little card so I can show people for who do not know the runes as well. Why can't I find anything? Here we go. So Perthrow rune, when it's it can look, when it's lying down, like it's a cauldron lying down flat. And there is some like seership techniques that work with like the crystal ball, or you can use you can have water, and you can put like black food dye into the water to create a surface of water as well. This sort of gazing form of seership is one that seems to be whispering at the moment. So here's the Perthrow rune, and when you can put it on its side like that, it becomes like this cauldron of seership here. Now, I think it's come up because I know that I actually find working with crystal balls, working with pools of water very challenging, because my mind is quite busy. Because I've got the strong mystic that's up here, quite a strong sage as well down at the throat, I can find it difficult to access that place of silence, that place of deepness and depth with the seer self. That place of stilling the mind can be quite difficult. Now, just because something is difficult doesn't mean it's not something that you should, try to do. So I think perhaps, Chen, it's just saying, like, pay a little bit of attention to that, to the busyness of the mind, and look at where are times when you are able to really, really put that down and release the busyness of the mind. And how do you do that? Might be what it wanted to bring in there. Lisa, you have got Algiz as your sun rune and Algiz today. So let's find the Algiz rune. I'm going to have a play with Algiz. So the Algiz rune is a beautiful protective rune. I think it's wonderful for the seer self. It is really, really good for creating spaces of safety for seership within it. It draws in like the Valkyrie or the Seer or the protective spirits around us. We've talked about this before, like the sort of rainbow maiden coming and holding our space for us. Here we go. We got the rainbow stuff. Now, the thing that's important with the Algiz rune is that you will sometimes see it. It's in its upright position here, reaching up towards the sky. You know, I was saying, "Give me a sign. Give me a sign, Princess Anne." That was my Algiz invocation, and I was asking for that to come through. And obviously, Algiz delivered, you know, in the form of a person. It's almost like you can imagine the universe saying, "Oh, you know, let's just send the memory of Ian Cray to this person here, and we'll send Maggie in her direction so that she'll just meet her at the door at that exact moment, and she'll just happen to look down at Maggie's name tag and happen to remember that in the moment, so that this message comes through." That's Algiz in operation at that moment. So it's sort of looking for those Algiz moments. And recognizing sometimes as when we are the seer that simply saying, let me be that channel, let Algiz work through me, is enough to support us in moving into the seer self more strongly. So you're working with the Algiz rune, working with it through embodiment practices, working with it through meditation, doing your Algiz Awaken module, Lisa, when the time comes, will be really powerful for you. And it's a wonderful way to start doing readings for people, is to connecting with the Algiz rune. It's also great for healings because it allows us to become the channel for spirit in that sense. But what I also love about the Algiz rune is, although it has these 3 points rising upwards, and in the Western culture in particular, we tend to think of wisdom as coming down from the sky, but it also has this root into the earth, you know, which is a reminder that we are the whole body. If you think about this as being like a person now, the knowing is the body. It's not, this rune isn't like a little head, just the head. The knowing of the head, it's the whole body as well. I've been meditating on this quite a lot recently, and I've been thinking about Mimir. Mimir is a deity of wisdom, and has a great deal of wisdom. And then for whatever reason, no, we're not going to go into that now, he has his head cut off. And Odin is very upset about this because Mimir was a wonderful and amazing advisor. And so he devises magics that allow him to bring Mimir's head back to life to get information and knowledge. But something about this wisdom being cut off by dividing the head from the body, quite important in terms of thinking about seership. So it's also a reminder that our seership comes from the whole body. And there is a, in the, I want to say the Old Norse, and forgive me because I deliberately don't feel as strongly into the younger Futharks because my place is the elder Futhark. I draw on the knowledge, but I don't work with the rune so much. But you can get this sort of alternate form that you will see, and sometimes you can see people playing with the Algiz rune by having one pointing up and one going down. I know I've done that before. And then you get the roots coming down, and you get the wells of Urthasbrún, Mimirsbrún, and Fergalmere. And Mimirsbrún is Mimir's well. So his head is taken and it is placed at the bottom of the tree. And I think, this is only my belief, that instead of his separate body, his head connects to Yggdrasil, the world tree, and so his body becomes the all. And then he's able to speak his wisdom from there. Just going to offer that out there as a little thought for you there, Lisa. Quite a deep thought there. But that sense in which our bodies connect us with everything. We're drawing in air all of the time. We are made from the earth. We are made from the stars. The knowing of the body is so much deeper than the knowing of just what's going on inside our heads. So that is there for you, Lisa, with the Algiz rune. Who else have we got coming through? Erica, you have got Yera. Lovely Yera rune. Did we have Yera last week? I'm just checking. I should have written this down on my paper so I'm not having to check one over the other. No, we didn't. So let's feel into Yera a little bit. So Yera's reminding me, we've talked about Rado with Frigg, this energy of rhythm coming through, the energy of rhythm flowing through the body. And Yera is the rhythm of the wider universe. You know, we were talking about Mimir, and he's like the head, and he's placed down, and he stops being a single individual, separated, for whatever, you know, the way in which we can experience ourselves as being separate, even though we're not really. But we can experience it that way. Rado and Yera to me are interconnected because they have this motion of rhythm. Rado is the motion of us walking the road, of the act of walking, the act of movement. which perhaps we've lost to a certain extent with cars, because it's a smooth, we feel very smooth when we're traveling. We don't bring our own energy into it, and we don't feel that rise and fall of each step and the rhythm of the steps moving right, left, which is part of the connection process for us with our bodies. I think it's one of the reasons why when I go traveling, I have found that one of the only ways for me to reconnect fully with my body is to lie down and lie on the earth and wait for my soul to catch up with me, because my body hasn't experienced the journey in the same way. When you're traveling in a car or on a plane or on something that feels very, very smooth, your body doesn't get the sensation of movement even though you have moved. That tends to be what the way that I feel about it. And it's that part of our wholeness is being deeply connected with where we are on the time. So we have the road, but with the Yarrow rune we have the wheel of the year turning. And our ancestors worked with 2 seasons, so we had summer and winter. Here we go, Sumar and Vetra there, turning the wheel turning round and round and round. And it's that feeling the way in which the path, if you think about the radar rune and Frigg and talk about the radar rune and that movement, it's sort of breathing into that and saying what's behind me. So at the moment for us, the summer months are behind us, but they keep us in momentum. So we're moving forward into and embracing the winter, and we're moving forward into it. And if you think about the seer, it is that sensation of, is there any part of me as I follow this tide of time and space and I'm moving from the summer and through the autumn and through the wheel of the year, is there any part of me that feels like pain or discomfort as I feel that sense of moving, of being carried by the tide of summer into the tide of winter? And if I do, how can I work to release that? I'm feeling something around the collarbone almost there, Erica. So you can do this exercise, and anyone can do this exercise of really just arriving in your body and feeling the sense of which the earth is moving all of the time. We can't feel it because we've become accustomed to it. We're like designed to be accustomed to it, but it's moving all the time. And we are moving through time all the time, and we're moving through the seasons all of the time. And we can have this act of walking. You can literally go on a walk forwards very gently as you're moving on that, and feel the season that you're leaving behind you, and feel yourself moving into, as if you're on the wheel, moving into the season ahead, and then feel where might there be some blocks. You don't need to know what they are. No, this is part of the working with the body, but the head doesn't always need to know. It's that sense of, okay, I'm moving into winter. What does that mean? Where might the resistance be, and how can I release that? It's very deep body knowing with the Yarrow rune. So I offer that to Erica, but also to anybody who is receiving the Yarrow rune at the moment. It's a great way of connecting with the knowing of the seer without having to express it through words and know what that might be. Obviously there's going to be a large part of you that's going, yeah, I'm loving this is brilliant, I'm moving forward as well. So don't just be like, oh, there's parts of me that are resisting and that's bad. Also, oh yeah, there are parts of me that are really embracing that. Like, where's the anticipation in your body? Where's the, oh, there's this and there's that. Just to allow yourself to feel like, okay, am I allowing myself, or am I moving with the wheel at this point? Or is there part of me that's really struggling to move with the wheel? Okay. Sue, you've got the new moon in Dargaz. I've got a feeling we did Dargaz last time. Did we do Dargaz last time? We did do Dargaz last time. Isn't that interesting that we've had so many runes coming up this week that we had last week? Is that because some of you are working through a lunar month and you brought your runes at the new moon? And that's something you might want to think about, actually. If you're working on the lunar cycle and you've got that coming through, yeah, you might feel like, oh, which week do I want to bring that? Which week feels like the most potent week for me? So we are not going to do Dargaz for you, but I think that maybe just listening to what was said about Yera there, Sue, because the Dargaz rune is still a rune of time. There's a slightly different motion. What for you, you might want to feel, oh, it's coming through now, isn't it? Of course it is. What you might want to feel for your Dargaz rune. Oh, Maggie, I just have no self-discipline whatsoever. My seer just wants to chat with you now. And I'm going to have to show you the card in order to explain this, Sue. So bear with me. Bear with me, caller, while I find the Dargaz rune, because I wasn't expecting to work with it. Here we go. So often we work with Dargaz as being this shape. But what I'd like you to do is to imagine that you're twisting it so that you are standing and you have the energy of the previous day what's come in the past, like we've talked about it with Yera, and the energy of the future, and then you've got you in the middle, and it's sort of moving backwards and forwards and saying, okay, so this is the energy of me yesterday, and this is the energy of me today. How are they different? It's that like a sort of shedding and connecting with what was in the immediate past and what's in the immediate future, which is similar to what I was saying to Erica, with this sense of the road and the wheel, and then we're moving on the wheel. But it's more like, okay, on how do I let go of that energy of the past and let go of that energy ahead and just be fully in the present moment, so that I can be more aware, so I'm not as, what's the word I'm looking for, influenced by either of those two things. I'm just in the present moment. I'm backwards, that's the past. I'm forwards, that's the future. And then where's my center of balance? Where's my center of balance? And that's the place in the center of the Dargaz rune, being in presence. So a little bit of extra bit there with the Dargaz rune. Lovely to see you, Michelle. Wonderful. Just a reminder to you, if you're struggling with the coupon code, so I've said with the coupon code, if it doesn't work, please just email talk@meganrose.com with the coupon code and we will get you sorted, because I do not know why that is struggling. Carol, sweltering Perth in Western Australia. Oh, very hot. He's chosen Suello. Lovely Suello rune. Now this is another rune. It's interesting that we've got these runes coming up that really call us into rhythm. So here's the Suello rune. Lovely Suello rune. There. I'm just writing that down so I don't do too many runes for us. So with the Suello rune, there is a smoothness. I was just talking about the rhythm that you get with Rado or with Yera, that you can feel that you're in that present moment, whereas the Suello rune turns and there is a smoothness, almost like a dancing energy that comes with the Suello rune. Bear with me 1 second. So, the Suello rune can draw us into a place where we are so excited about possibilities, and we're so excited about what we see or feel. If we've accessed our seer, our inner seer, and we are able to connect with that energy, energy that the Suello rune represents, which is the energy of the sun, but it's also the energy of purpose and focus and direction. And we have that, beautiful energy drawing us forward. It can feel like a flame inside. It can feel like that flame has opened up inside us. And we're resonating with the energy of the sun really strongly. And then we're moving with the energy of the sun, and we're moving round and round and round and round. And we can get to the point where we're so in the moment that we disconnect from everything else. Some of you might think about that as being like flow state, when you're like, oh, I'm totally in the moment, I'm totally in the realm. And if we have too much of that Suello energy going all of the time, we actually lose our connection to like ourselves and to the other parts of our knowing, and we have to recenter ourselves. I'm trying to describe it in the best way as I can. See, Mani offers a rhythm because he ebbs and flows through the course of each month, which is why we follow his rhythm. Now Suna has a longer rhythm of the winter and the summer that she's following, but her energy remains the same whether she's in the northern hemisphere or the southern hemisphere. She's always focused forward and going, I'm moving forward and I'm focused forward. And the thing about Suna is she is a deity, so she doesn't do stopping. Not only is she a deity, she's an incredibly focused deity who doesn't get driven off track, unlike Mani, who's like, oh, look what the pretty humans are doing, isn't that wonderful, that's amazing, let's look at that. What she hasn't done is she hasn't mastered the art of the pause, and that's okay because that's not her realm. But we as humans need to master the art of the pause. And there is a different type of Suello energy. So instead of spinning vertically, we move the Suello rune so that we are spinning or moving horizontally with the movement of the hips. So we move out of the head in the forward motion with the Suello rune, and we take on a different feeling of its energy, and we allow it to move our hips, and we allow ourselves to dance with it and to say, I am not traveling in a particular direction. I am now the earth moving around the sun, and I am moving when I do that, and I'm doing this sort of figure of 8 movement with my hips there, and I'm allowing my feet to disconnect from the land and then reconnect with the land there with the Suello energy. So I'm still in Suello energy, but it is this horizontal energy of dance, of being, of oneness in this moment, of recognizing the spiraling motion of the earth traveling around the sun, and this dance of the planets doing that is this bigger macrocosm energy, and it allows us to step out of the focus and to expand ourselves back into a state of being and a state of presence. So that is what Suelo is offering for those of you who have received the Suelo rune in this moment. So thank you very much for bringing that one. Carol, Chen, I hope that you got your connection back. So let me see who else we've got. We've got lovely Darcy. Hi, Darcy. You've got Gibo, haven't you? I've got a feeling that we've done Gibo already. Yes, we have. Hail Gibo. Lots of Gibo energy still coming through. So really feeling into that exchange there still, but I'm not getting anything else coming through from Gibo. So I'm going to leave us with that one. Maggie saying, I'm now pursuing the healer path. Oh, lovely. And Erica says, I love the deep body knowing that takes us slower down and deep listening, part of the slow healing on. Absolutely, no, that's my absolute pleasure. Michelle says, did I do Rado? Did I do Rado? I haven't done Rado. We've talked about Rado, haven't we? Let's do Rado. A little bit of Rado energy and a little bit of Wunyo energy coming through. Did we do Wunyo last week? We didn't do Wunyo. So let's do Rado and Wunyo because those are our two planets, and then we'll have one final rune. So with the Rado energy, I would really, it's quite straightforward with the Rado. We've talked quite a lot about that energy of movement and momentum with Frigg's Chariot and like taking those actions. What is the action that I can take that invites in maybe not all of what I can feel, but allows me to be resonating in alignment with the energy of what I feel. That's really such an airy fairy wishy-washy sentence that I just used then, wasn't it? Resonating in alignment with the energy. When we feel into something that either this doesn't feel right for me and I need to move into momentum around it, I need to make a change, I need to make a difference, and I'm not yet ready to make the full difference, but I'm ready to make some difference. It's how can we start to do that work of disconnecting. I mentioned journaling. You could do cord cutting work as well. You could say, okay, that was the scenario as was. I am now cutting those cords to that scenario. You can also do gratitudes work. So you can give thanks for what you have received from the current moment or what you want to be the past moments. You're giving thanks, and that is an act of disconnection as well, offering those gratitudes. It often can be quite difficult for us to do that piece if we've experienced a lot that we didn't like, if we're in a place that we don't want. So it is recognizing that acting, that not just cord cutting, but offering that gratitude as an act of sealing and completion. So you're wanting to look at what can I do to symbolically, metaphorically, spiritually, energetically, physically complete this phase. What are the lessons that I have learned from this? What I've learned about myself from this? You know, those pieces. It's just looking at how can I signal to the universe that this is complete and done. Then you can start to look at what am I inviting in instead? What am I inviting in its place? And that's the next piece is to do. You know, when I was talking about when somebody comes and they say, will I? And they say, like, will I get a new job? The question I always ask them first is, well, how many have you applied for? And the point isn't always to, I'm going to apply for this job and this is the job that I want and I'm going to put my heart and soul into the job and then I'm going to be deeply disappointed when I don't get it. Sometimes it is the act of applying for a new job, signaling to the universe I am ready for the new job. It might not be that job, but I am getting into that process. I'm getting into that way of being. So all of that is coming through for me with the Rado rune there. That's what I mean when I talk about sort of getting into energetic resonance, is what can I do to complete and what can I do to invite in. So then we have our Wunyo rune. And I was talking about this in terms of joy, wasn't I, with Odin, this sort of experience of Wunyo, which is very much around asking yourself that question, you know, what if my desire and the will of the universe were one and the same? What if my desire for whatever it is, however small, however selfish it might feel, what if the universe wanted that? What if the most powerful act that I could take at this point is to fulfill my own desire? You know? And by that, I don't mean the desires that we've been told that we need to have in the head, remembering that a lot of the work of the seer is to connect in with the knowing of the body and the knowing of the subconscious mind. It's not, I've been told that, my car is very old and everyone else on my street has a different, more shiny car and I need the shiny car. No, it's not those wants, it's the desires. And again, if you are not able to connect with that desire, if you're not able to connect into that, the pleasure of being, then it's probably not a seer that you need, it's probably a healer that you need at this point, to say, I need some help to release some of these, the story world that has been created and that is trapped inside me and that I would like to release, the emotions, the traumas that are held in my body and in the subconscious mind, so that I connect more strongly with pleasure, more strongly with pleasure. I'm reminded of Suki, I think it was you, when we were talking about loyalty. I don't remember if it was Suki or Sue, apologies. We were talking about loyalty here. And Wunyo is a rune of belonging. It's this rune of belonging and kin and soul clan. And when we think about a group of people, let's say, a group of people that we connected to really strongly, and in that moment we felt so seen, so safe, so like, this is me, this is who I am. And we just thought, I'm never going to leave. I'm never going to leave this place. But what happens is that the purpose that those people came together for unfolds and completes, or they start to see each other not as who they're becoming, but as who they were. And they start to project their own sense of self or accomplishment onto the other people in the group. And the group, like a tree or a flower or a year or a day or any of those things, has been through its cycle. And so Wunyo calls us into that deep sense of belonging, that deep sense of this is who I am, this is what I do, this is what I offer. But it also invites us to step away from that as well and says, what's the next ecstasy? What's the next place of desire? And to release, if you're in the northern hemisphere, like as the leaves of the trees, we release that and we say, this year, this cycle of belonging is over, is complete. I need to go and find out who I am again and maybe disconnect a little bit. That the ecstasy of Wunyo can be felt in a place where everyone is just deeply in flow with each other, but it's also felt when you're alone, and you're finding yourself and discovering yourself again. And we tend to, in our culture, we tend to think about it as, I like, almost like life is a like a game of snakes and ladders, or I hit this marker and then I hit this marker and I hit this in a linear pattern, rather than it being a more natural process of the cycle of the year as it's released. Wrong way around. It seeds, it flowers, it fruits, it's released, it dies back, and then it comes, something else new comes back each time. The bulb, if you think about a bulb under the earth, the plant that comes up from that bulb every year is beautiful and glorious and wonderful, but it's not the same plant. It's not the same plant as it was the year before. It could be very, very different. So Wunyo offers all of that to us. So that's our Wunyo rune. Let's have a little look. Lisa's laughing at me with the Wood Wide Web. Good. Sue says thank you. It's very powerful for you. Let's have a look at the final rune. The final rune that we are going to look at. The other one that's come through. Let's see if it's one that we should be working at with this week, which is the Iwaz rune. The Iwaz rune of the staff. Yes, there we go. The Iwaz rune of the staff is the final one. Here we go. The staff that supports us in the moment. I think about this as when I do seethe rites, I have my seethe staff, and what I do is I put the staff in front of me, and then I lean into it and I move with it, and our movement becomes one. It's that dance, it's that swallow dance that I was talking about, and it means that the staff becomes my anchor, my support, so that I can be more free to feel into possibility, and it becomes the tool that I am working with as I move backwards and forwards. And you can think about it with the Rado rune as well, with the staff, as we walk through them, that we might need that staff to hold us. But it's working with the staff less as a support No, it's not a support, it's a partner. This is when we went with the Wunyo rune. That we can get stuck and locked into situations where we feel that we are in like mutually dependent relationships, and not in a good way. Is that what they call it? Codependent. I will no longer be me if I'm not with this person, or that I can't exist without them, or they can't exist without me. And it can become quite sort of unhealthy in that sense. And we don't want that with our IWAS staff. We don't want to be like, I can't exist without this. I think about this for me when I learnt to walk. Again, after I had arthritis, I had to go and do walking lessons. And first of all, I had crutches, and then I had a walking stick, and then I had a lighter walking stick. But it took me a really long time to let go of that stick and to walk alone again, because I was afraid. No, I didn't need that stick anymore, but my body had come to believe that it needed that stick. And so starting to almost work with that support infrastructure that is around you, or that you are part of, as being a space that is continually evolving and continually playing, and that might have its own purpose that it needs to move on into. I found it much easier to think about. I gave my crutches back to the hospital because I wanted somebody else to benefit from them, and I realized that part of that was I'd relied on the crutches for so long that I sort of felt disloyal to them. No, it wasn't just that I was thinking, oh, what if I fall? What if I fall? What if you don't? What if you fly? So the Iwas rune is the support that changes and evolves with you. It's saying every time you change, every time you evolve, the world will reshape around you. Every time you take that risk, every time you move into the space of daring, the world will evolve, and there will be something there to catch you. If you take that moment of daring, there will be something there, something that will catch you. You don't yet know what it is, but the only way that you will be able to reach out and catch that next support is by letting go of the previous one. If you're still holding on, you're not going to be able to swing out and reach to that next piece. So that is what the Iwas rune has to offer to us. So, we've come to the end of our session. So a reminder for everyone who is here live in person that yes, for whatever reason the coupon code isn't working. So email talk@maginrose.com with your coupon code, and we will get it working for you properly. And we will send that out to you so that you can enjoy that special offer that I had for those of you in the session today. There are only 10, and I'm doing 5, there are only 10 available. Once they are gone, they are gone. I look forward to seeing you all at that Reclaiming the Seer session, or at the masterclass on seership with your runes. The only other piece from me, and I will actually do a separate post on this, so just look out for it. I've sent out a survey to everyone who receives Suna's Star Wheel, which is the companion to these pieces, these Magic in Mind pieces, because I've made some changes. We now have a little wild voice journaling meditation for each of the phases of the moon to support you through. So I'm looking for feedback on that. We're also thinking about making a hard copy journal for you to use, so that you can come to these sessions and you'll have that hard copy as well. I would love to move into co-creative partnership with you on this one. So I'll put a post out into the Hearth space about that. But if you've already received your email, your Sooner Star Wheel email, please do fill in that survey, because that would be absolutely wonderful. Love and blessings to you all. Thank you very much. This has been a long session, but I hope that it has been helpful. Lovely to see all of you, and many blessings for you on your path into deeper seership, whatever that means for you, wherever you are right now.